Welcome one and all. I am Baba the Storyteller, your host, the ubiquitous bard plagued by an implacable passion for proverbs, parables, and pleasing palaver. If you're returning after having watched one of the other videos, welcome back. I appreciate you for valuing this old griot's time. But if you're coming and this is the first time we've crossed paths, and you don't know what a griot is, and the instrument looks a little different to you, I would encourage you to go watch the first video in this series. It's the video titled The Beggar's Bowl of Rice. It's a fascinating story. But in that video, I explain a lot about the instrument, about the kora of the ancient storytellers of West Africa. So I would encourage you to watch that as well, if you have questions. And I want to get to the story as quickly as possible because I want to respect everyone's time. But today's theme, the story will evolve around patience. A very valuable thing in this life, in short supply. So let me finish the song and then we'll get to the story. And don't forget, hang around after the story for that segment called Something to Think About, Something to Talk About. So I'll finish the song and we'll get to it. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, your host, Baba the Storyteller. Today's theme, before we get to the story, today's theme is patience. And I wanted to share this with you because, well, once again, it's one of those things where life brings you the experiences to help you gain patience. Let me just share with you a quick moment. When I was first learning to play this instrument, the kora, I had a teacher, an elder who was working with me. And this elder was teaching me, one of the first lessons was how to tune the instrument. Now these little strips right here, these are how you tune the instrument by moving these up or down. But sometimes, like when you're inexperienced, the tuning of these, it can take on a domino effect, where when one falls, they all fall. And it could be very frustrating. Very frustrating. In fact, I remember a moment where I was being taught how to tune the instrument. And my elder had showed me how to do it. And, you know, I was born in the U.S. I was born from here. So, you know, we're always out to prove something. So I was going to prove that I had learned and that I could do it. And I didn't need any more help. So I started trying to get the instrument tuned. I started from the top, working my way down. And needless to say, I would get halfway and the tuning ring at the top would fall and clack, 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 clack. All of them would fall. And I would start over. I must have started over like 30, 40 times. And my elder, he's just circling me. He's walking around. But I keep trying. And like I said, it's 30 or 40 times. And it must have been more than an hour. And out of frustration, I mean, I had reached my point of frustration. And I looked at my elder and I said, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not working? And in the gentlest of tones, he came this close to my face and he said, "Finally you ask." I had suffered all of that time needlessly. I didn't have to. I could have asked within the first few minutes what I was doing wrong. But the reason why I share that life experience with you is because, well, the elder had a lot of patience with me. A lot of patience. And I think these days, patience is in short supply, sadly, as it is. And I wanted to share this story of patience because I think everyone will get something out of it. And there's a story. Well, I'll just let me share the story with you. But before I do, let me give you the proverb to take into the story, to think about. And when we get on the other side, there's something to think about, something to talk about. Well, we'll discuss the proverb. But here's the proverb: patience is the mother of the most beautiful child. Enjoy the story of the lost watch. There was once a young farmer who inherited a pocket watch. The pocket watch had been passed down for generations through his family. It had come from his great-grandfather, who gave it to his grandfather, who gave it to his father, who eventually gave it to him. And every generation had a story associated with this pocket watch. For example, the great-grandfather, it was said, was one of the hardest working people in the county. He would get up and work his farm from early in the morning before the sun came up, all the way into the evening when the sun went down. And for this work, for this hard work that he had put in, well, there eventually came a point where he had a great harvest. And to reward himself for all the hard work, he purchased the pocket watch. The pocket watch became a symbol of hard work for the family. And that was one of the stories that had been passed down through the generations. And the grandfather, the grandfather was well known by everyone for his respect for time. It said that there was never a moment where his grandfather was not on time for wherever he had to be and whatever he had to do. In fact, the young farmer had grown up hearing his grandfather use this phrase all the time. He would say, "Punctuality is the courtesy of kings." And then there was his father. When the watch had been passed on to his father, there's a very endearing story. You see, his father worked hard because that was the way the family worked. But there was a time where he didn't quite make as much money and he didn't quite have the bountiful harvest as his predecessors. And he had fallen in love. Yes, with the young farmer's mother, of course. He had fallen in love and he could not afford a ring. So in place of the ring, he gave the young woman the pocket watch, and he promised her that someday his hard work would pay off and he would buy her a wedding ring. The joke in the family was that, well, his mother walked around with that pocket watch for a number of years. And then there was him, the young farmer. He didn't have a story. He valued the pocket watch, but there was nothing associated from him that he would be able to pass on to his children. He would wake up in the morning, just like his great-grandfather had, his grandfather's father, and he would work from sunup to sundown, working hard. He would take the pocket watch and he would put it in his pocket as a reminder of the hard work that he had to do. And every day he had his little rituals. He would put it in his pocket and then he would go to work. Sometime during the day before noon, he would reach in his pocket and he would feel the pocket watch to remind himself that hard work pays off. And at the end of the day, he would reach in his pocket and take the pocket watch out and put it on the dresser near his bed, reminding himself that hard work paid off. Well, one day, the young farmer, he was in his barn pitching hay. And he was working, pitching this hay from early in the morning till late afternoon. And he kept working as hard as he could because he was proud of the work that he put into his farm. He was proud at what he was able to grow and do. And at the end of the day, when he was leaving the barn, he reached in his pocket and the pocket watch wasn't there. He patted his pockets to feel for it and he didn't have the pocket watch. He raced back into the barn in a panic and began looking for the pocket watch. It had to be in the barn. That was the last place that he had it. And he's searching all throughout the barn in a panic, and he cannot find it. And it was at this point that he heard the playing of children outside, and he got an idea. The farmer went outside, and he gathered the children together, and they all came. And he said, "I've lost my pocket watch. If one of you can go into that barn and find that pocket watch. Whichever one of you finds it, I will reward handsomely. Well, the children, they didn't need any more than that. They raced past the farmer into the barn and they began searching for the pocket watch. All except for one little girl. When all of the children raced in the direction of the barn, well, she turned around and she walked toward the pond. The farmer watched her and she went over to the pond and she began skipping stones. Well, he turned his attention back to the barn and he could hear the children in there laughing and giggling and talking as they were trying to find this watch. The children were in there for more than 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And then they all came out together. When they came out, they went to the farmer and they all were saying the same thing. Your watch isn't in the barn. You must have lost it somewhere else. We couldn't find the watch. The poor farmer. He was heartbroken. The watch that had been passed down for many generations, that had stories from each generation, would stop with him. He turned around and he began to walk towards his home. And that was when the young girl ran over to him. And the young girl, she looked up at him and she said, "Can I try?" And the farmer, well, he thought, I have nothing to lose. He said, "If you can go into this barn and find my watch, I will reward you handsomely." The young girl ran toward the barn and she pulled the barn door shut when she went in. And within 3 minutes, she came out holding the pocket watch. 3 minutes. She brought it over to the farmer. She handed it to him and he was shocked. He said, "What a miracle." He said, "How were you able to do this? All of your friends went in and they weren't able to find it. But you alone were able to find the pocket watch?" The young girl looked up at the farmer and she said, "It was easy." She said, "When I went into the barn, I closed the door and I sat down in the middle of the barn. And then," she said, "I got as quiet as I could possibly get. And that is when I heard the ticking of the watch." She said, "And then I stood up and I went in the direction of the ticking, and there it was." The farmer, he smiled wide. He had learned a lesson from this child, a very valuable lesson. And in fact, the farmer was happy because he now had a story associated with the pocket watch to pass down to his children. Doni doni, kononi be yagada. Welcome back, family, and I hope you enjoyed the story of the lost pocket watch as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. At this point, I'm going to reiterate this. When you hear a story, please share a story. That is so important. It is so important because, as I've always said, stories are building blocks. They help us to grow as individuals, communities, and societies. And when you share a story, you are helping others to grow. All right? Stories are not just a form of entertainment that you consume for yourself and walk around with in your own head. They are meant to be shared. So hear a story, share a story. So let's get into our segment, something to think about, something to talk about. I actually have 4 things in this segment that I want to put out for you to think about and for you to talk about. And the first is this. Inside of the story, the grandfather shares a saying that I've heard so much over my life. And that saying is, punctuality is the courtesy of kings. Now, that has meaning at many different levels. But I want you to gather around and I want you to discuss that. What does that mean? Because it's going to mean different things to different people. And I have to warn you, discussing punctuality and time, conversations can get really heated. Okay, that is not what we want here. We want a discussion around it where everyone brings their own perspective to the table. And I want, whether you're 3 or 83, I want your perspective to be respected. So listen, not with your ears when you are listening to these perspectives. Listen with your hearts. All right? That's the first thing. Punctuality is the courtesy of kings. The next thing is the proverb. Another proverb that I love. Obviously, I used it in the story, so I must love it, right? It resonates with me. Patience is the mother of a beautiful child. I want so desperately to tell you what I think about it, but I'm going to back off and I'm going to let all of you gather together and I'm going to let you discuss that. Patience is the mother of a beautiful child. The next thing, all of those children rushed into the barn to try to find the watch. And there were a lot of them. But not one of them came out with the watch. They all came out saying that the watch wasn't in the barn, the farmer must have left it somewhere else. So my question for you, the thing that I want you to think about and talk about amongst one another, is what did the little girl do differently than all of those people who rushed into the barn? And the final thing, concerning the farmer. What kept the farmer from being able to find his watch when he went back into the barn? I see some of you smiling because you get it right away. Some people are kind of scratching their heads. Gather together and discuss that. That's something to think about, or some things to think about, and some things to talk about, since I left you with 4. And before you go, please have patience with me. There's one more thing I want to give you. For me, it's a gift. After all of these years of studying this culture and learning the things that I've learned, I travel to schools and I'm able to share with students. So what I would like to do before you go is, can I teach you a song in Bambara? Please? I promise it won't take much more time because I respect your time, but I think we could walk away from this with something very valuable. So I'm going to say some words in Bambara and I want you to repeat them. All right? Here. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, that may not sound right to you. Let me anglicize it, make it sound a little more like English. We won't sing it that way, but this will help you understand. Repeat after me. E-I-A. Now, make the sound of the letter N after me, like this. Mm. Yep, no, you got to cut it short. One more time. After me, listen, I'm going to make the sound of the letter N, but you have to cut it short. Mm. Okay. E-I-A. Te. Okay, that was pretty good. One more time. E-I-A. Te. Okay, I'm going to add something on to that te. Here we go. Repeat after me now. Now listen. Iaye te kumala. One more time. This time I'm going to do the whole thing. You can do this. You got this. Iaye te kumala. Okay, not bad. It's a song though. So now I'm going to sing the song, but I'm going to run the sounds and the tones together. I'm not going to go E-I-A because that's not what it sounds like. Really, when you sing it in Bambara, it sounds more like E-I-A, you know. So listen to the tone that I give you and then give that back to me, okay? So listen. After me, it goes E-I-A, E-I-A, te kumala. Okay, we need a little more practice, don't we? Okay, a couple of more times. Listen. And here's what I'll do. As a reward, if you can get this in the next couple of tries, I've got the chorus sitting over here. I'll bring it in and I'll play this song for you so that you can hear what it sounds like. And that's how we'll close out our session today. All right? One more time. After me. And I'll mouth the words with you singing back so you can watch my lips. It goes. Ia-ye, te kumala. One more time. Ia-ye, te kumala. Not bad. Not bad. Let's try this with music. I'll play the kora and I'll come in singing that song. Now, when I sing that part, your responsibility is just to sing back. All right? So, come on, breathe, everybody. We got this. We could do this. So here we go. After me. So listen to the song. Ia ye ndete kumala. Ia ye ndete kumala. Ia ye ndete kumala. Okay, did you get it? I think most of you probably got it. And one more time without the core. Ia ye ndete kumala. Wonderful. Thank you so much for engaging another culture respectfully in the way that I know we can and learning from one another. Until our paths cross again, don't forget, Doni Doni, Konuni Benyagada.